little dog. Two.
Hi, I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
I'm Pat Shelton, and welcome to Reel to Reel.
Just when one feels very established in their lifestyle, something happens to change it. And I know that Pat, Monsignor, and I have all faced life changes this year, this season.
Tell me about it. It's been a big change for him, but a great change to come from parish life back to the seminary again.
And a big, big change for me, to do television for the first time.
And I hope I do as well in married life, Pat, going from single life for me.
You know, the changes have brought something. Years ago in the Showboat, there was a song called I Have the Room Above Her. Now I have the room below a person you're going to see first. In our first presentation tonight, where do you meet Paul Trin, my new neighbor in the seminary?
When you're in school, your neighbor is your classmate next to you, and both of you learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, tonight we're going to learn about emotions.
And 20 years ago, the U.S. bishops established a program to help eradicate poverty in the United States. And today, we're going to meet a lady who represents one of those grassroots organizations funded by the Campaign for Human Development.
Human development has meant so much about how to put things together, how to help those who need help, and how to be responsible. It takes an awful lot of experience to do something like this, to bring things first, and that really takes doing.
And experience can come from any aspect of your life. For instance, sometimes you watch a movie and you really come out with an incredible experience. Perhaps it's an experience of God. Well, maybe you get that experience from God because the picture has been brought to God first.
The faces of El Salvador, so many etched by the pain of poverty, drained by years of civil war. Faces that have stared at the grim reality of death squads. Faces that can only turn to God to ask why. Brother against brother, why? Children raised in the ravage of bloodshed, why? And in 1980, their champion, a man of God and a man of the poor, Archbishop Oscar Romero, martyred by an assassin's bullet. Why? There are no answers. But now there is at least a film that seeks to reveal the gospel among the brutal savagery that has become El Salvador. In tribute to its fallen inspiration, the film is called simply Romero.
Action!
And for the story of its life, we travel thousands of miles north to the gentle shores of the Pacific and the production offices of the polished order of the Catholic Church. To another man of God, the film's producer, Father Elwood Kaiser.
I think Oscar Romero's life is a heroic witness to the gospel. And I would hope that we have captured the gospel in the transition he undergoes. And I would hope that our viewer, identifying with this picture, is going to be entertained. But while they're being entertained, I would hope that they're also being enriched with the gospel. I think this movie is capable of occasioning conversion in people, and that would be my hope.
Come in.
The star of the film is Raul Julia, who has been quoted as saying that during shooting, he felt Romero was there with him, his essence, his soul, his being.
I'm fine, I'm just tired. It's been a difficult day.
I have some news for you.
Please sit down, Monsignor.
I think you may need to sit down. You have been appointed Archbishop.
To go through his pain, his fear, his doubts. The idea of playing someone like that who has that much love for other people, for human beings, his fellow countrymen, to give his life for them it's an intriguing, challenging thing to be able to do.
Romero's best friend and spiritual mentor, Father Philyaw Grande, is played by Richard Jordan.
It's sometimes very hard to be saintly. And you have to produce a kind of, serenity and humility that is just hard. Actually, I could identify it in technical terms, but that would be boring. It's just hard. It's hard to get that, it's that glide, And I actually, playing the part, I really haven't done that. I've kept him very practical and very down to earth and everything's tangible,
Archbishop Chavez says you're going too fast.
What do you think?
I've always believed in you and your strength, your ideals. But some are even saying you're a subversive agitator.
Remember who else they called such names? Jesus is not somewhere up in the clouds lying in a hammock. Jesus is down here with us, building a kingdom. Oscar, what else can I do? I cannot love God whom I do not see. If I do not love my brothers and sisters whom I can see.
Tony Plana plays a priest who believes in liberation theology.
To actually fight as a man alongside the guerrillas. That to me was just an incredible phenomenon, because the church has for so many years, been on the side of nonviolence and stay neutral and stay spiritual. And here were men who were faced with a contemporary situation, morally, and spiritually, and were saying no. I mean, this is not violence. This is self-defense. And that's really the challenge that I throw at Romero.
I am a priest who sees Marxists and Christians struggling to liberate the same people. Jesus is part of that struggle. He would not stand by and watch his people being murdered.
So you become like the military and the aristocracy. You wage class warfare. You become violent.
How could we continue to speak against violence when they keep killing the people that we love? And even you admit we have the right to defend ourselves.
You're not defending! You're attacking! And you'll lose God, just as they have!
Ultimately, the film is about one man who stood up for what is right and just. And the making of his story to share with us is perhaps best recounted by Father Kaiser.
I'll never forget, we had 4 masses in the course of the shoot because we wanted it very clear to everybody that we were not only making a film about God, and hopefully we were making it for God, but we wanted to make it with God. We wanted to involve God in the creative process. And not all the Mexicans were churchgoers. Most of the Australians were not churchgoers, but they all came to these masses. And I remember at the offertory of that first mass, the makeup lady brought her makeup kit and put it on the altar. The director brought his viewfinder. The lighting guy brought his light meter. The writer brought the script. And so the altar is covered with these symbols of the guy's crafts. And, we were 3 different cultures, Australians, Americans, and Mexicans. After that first mass, we were no longer gringos. We were brothers. They loved us, we loved them. We were one team trying to make the best movie we could. And if this is a good movie, and I think it is, it's because those people really pulled together, loved each other, and put out everything they had to make it the best picture we could.
In the name of our people, I
intrigued by this movie? Well, check your local newspaper listings and perhaps it's playing near you.
And we have much more experience to share with you, so please stay with us.
You are cordially invited to join the Reel-to-Reel crew as they travel through Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, gearing up for the most dramatic event staged on the European continent, the Passion Play, a world-famous tribute to the life of Christ. At Oberammergau, you will witness live on an enormous stage the events that actually happened to Jesus during his week of Passion, performed by a cast of over 1,000 professionals. This once-in-a-lifetime religious experience brings the Passion of our Lord before your very eyes. Included in your tour package is round-trip air transportation, 14 nights deluxe hotel accommodations, and daily breakfast and dinner. You will enjoy such sightseeing tours as a beautiful cruise along the Rhine River and truly experience the culture and folklore of Europe throughout your 16-day itinerary. This spectacular trip is scheduled for July 26 through August 10, 1990. Don't hesitate to reserve your seat for the Passion Play at Oberammergau because tickets are limited. All persons traveling with the Reel-to-Reel crew will receive as a bonus a 1-hour videotape capturing the memories of your trip. For more information, please call 215-587-3775.
Each year at this time, parishioners throughout the country are asked to contribute to CHD, the Campaign for Human Development. The Campaign for Human Development allows grants to community-based organizations who are in self-help efforts. 1/4 of the monies collected remains in our local diocese, and the remainders are pooled throughout the country. And we have with us today a representative of one of the agencies funded by CHD, the Action Alliance for Senior Citizens. And here to tell us about the Action Alliance for Senior Citizens is Sarah Philyaw. Now, Sarah has been a nurse throughout your life, 36 years, Sarah?
Yes.
That's wonderful. And as I understand, you've been retired for 11 years.
Yes, that's right.
And about that time, you became affiliated with the Action Alliance for Senior Citizens.
Yes, I did.
Now, why, in your retirement years, did you select this organization to be affiliated with?
Well, I always did have the desire to help people. And I felt that the older people, the aged and shut in, I could deal with them better. So I prayed and asked the Lord if He would prepare me to do this kind of work. So I felt that Action Alliance would be my best way to get to the most of them and to help the greatest
number. It must have been
number.
fulfilling for you because you've been with it for about 11 years?
Yeah, about, I said 9, 9 anyway.
Okay, now tell us a bit about what the Action Alliance for Senior Citizens does.
Action Alliance is a self-help coalition for low-income people, and it is made up of over 330 local clubs and centers in Philadelphia. We cover more than 130,000 senior citizens, and we have Catholics, Protestants, we have the Jewish clubs, we have senior clubs, and we have the union retirees and community groups. All of these are in, and it's all nationalities.
Very good. And what are some of the programs?
We have, Action Alliance have 4 committees. One committee is a health committee, legislative committee, the utilities committee, and the EVAP committee, the Elderly Victims Assistance Committee.
And now that's the committee you're co-chair of.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us just a little about that, Sarah.
We are trained advocates to go to court with elderly people who have been victimized. And this program came about with Judge Lynn Abrahams and District Attorney Ed Randall saw the fit that for this to be formed because senior citizens were not coming to court to prosecute their defendants. Yes.
So this must be a very comforting program.
Yes,
and there's
it is.
another program that you're vitally interested in that the monies from CHD helps to fund, and that is the MOM program. What is that about?
Yes, that's under the health care.
What does that mean?
And
What does that
the
stand for?
MOM stands for the Medicare Overcharge Measure. You see, so many of the doctors are overcharging the senior citizens for their doctor visits. And we felt that this would be a good program to form. And we are being helped by, we work closely with the project head of the Archdiocese. Some of their members are on our board. And the MOM program will, the doctor who will join this program will only accept what Medicare has set aside as the fee appropriate for that service given.
Okay, so it's working out utility problems, health care problems, legislative problems that affect senior citizens, and all of these good programs under the Action Alliance for Senior Citizens.
Yes.
One of the programs funded by CHD. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that the Campaign for Human Development is worthy of your consideration when asked to give. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us and explaining some of its programs.
Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for our relationships feature. This week, our moderator is priest, psychologist, Father Martin Padavani.
I'm Father Martin Padavani. I'm a priest psychotherapist for over 20 years. One of the realizations I've come to after these years of counseling is the lack of education that people have about their emotions with regard to themselves, their relationships, and even their religion. Many problems are due to the misunderstanding about our emotions, the abysmal ignorance that exists, and the unnecessary suffering that comes about from this. Who teaches us, by the way, about our emotions, how to feel, how to communicate, how to relate with feelings? No one. The only training that you and I have ever received is in our family of origin, the family in which we grew up, and nobody had a perfect family background. We're top-heavy then, aren't we, in educating the intellect, and we're poverty-stricken in the education of our emotions. Notice the educated people with personal problems and relationship problems. The whole gospel message is founded on our basic human goodness. The special message of the gospel calls us to have a sense of self-worth and to have a sense of personal responsibility, and to be more than who we are and enter into relationships with others, to integrate our humanness, our emotions, and our spiritual dimension. Not to fear or to be uncomfortable with our feelings. Our feelings are not sins, only our behavior that is destructive and hurtful to others. There's no contradiction in the gospel between our emotions, our human goodness, and our basic human Christian spirituality. Jesus' core teaching is what? Love God, your neighbor as yourself. The essence of mature Christian spirituality and human development is in that teaching. Prayer, the sacraments are to help us to attain these goals. They're only a means to an end, to the end of helping us to deal with our emotions with regard to our personal development and how they affect our relationships, and integrating them within our Christian message. Jesus is not only the greatest theologian, but to me he's also the greatest psychologist. He calls you and me to be whole and to wholeness, and that's what holiness is all about. In the Gospels, we see and listen to a Jesus who is not only in touch with his feelings, he's joyful, cries, he's hurt, he's angry, but he is emotionally in touch with other people. He's compassionate, warm, he has intimate relationships. There's no doubt about it, we all have problems, don't we? The difference is, are we facing them or are we not facing them? How we face and deal with them determines not only our sanity, but our sanctity and our salvation. One sure thing is whether we have personal problems or relationship problems. We can't resolve them by reason alone. We need to deal with the emotions and the feelings that are in these. So much human and spiritual suffering exists because we fear or fail to deal with our emotions, the emotions that God gave us. Jesus shows us the way. Our spiritual and human development is rooted in accepting and dealing with our emotions.
And so wholeness leads to holiness, but it's Jesus who leads the way.
Please lead your evening with Reel to Reel, because there's an incredible story of faith coming up next.
So how old did you say this stuff was? It belonged to my great-grandparents. It's almost 100 years old. Look at this one. Oh, that's the bomb.
That was something real bad, wasn't it?
Sarah, could this thing kill us? Oh, no. All of the people got together last century and got rid of all of the bombs, and there aren't any left.
Let's give the future back to the children.
Oh, look at this.
For over 19 years, the Campaign for Human Development has supported projects addressing conditions of poverty. Today, it is estimated that 20% of all children in the United States live in poverty. Approximately 7 out of 10 elderly persons who live alone do not have any pension income. Pope John Paul II wrote, "By virtue of our evangelical duty, the Church is called to take her stand beside the poor. Be generous and support the Campaign for Human Development collection."
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
We began the program with a brief chat about changing lifestyles, but I think our changes pale in comparison when you find out about our next guest here on Reel to Reel.
A lifestyle that has always intrigued me is a lifestyle of a Christian brother. A brother's boy, I can never get over it. But then to live now with a Christian brother who's preparing for priesthood is a great experience, especially when it's Paul Trin. For you see, I know what it really means when a brother says, "Live Jesus in our hearts."
At the end of the World War II, in 1945, I was 9 years old, and I saw people dying of starvation because of war. And during the Vietnamese War, people die every day. The life is very hard, but nobody escaped because they still enjoy freedom.
What happened was, after 1975, the communists took over South Vietnam and took away all the freedoms, that is religious freedom, freedom to have an education, freedom to have a job, freedom to own property, and they took that away and placed thousands upon thousands of people in what they call re-education camps.
Born in Vietnam in 1936, Paul Trin had been a teacher, principal, volunteer social worker, and a member of the Christian Brothers for almost 30 years. Paul was placed in a re-education camp in July of 1976.
When they sent me there, nobody knew where I was. My brother in the Christian Brother Order and my sister did go around asking them where I was, but they always told them they did not know where I was. So after 1 year, nobody did look for me anymore.
Paul was released after almost 2 years through the efforts of a former student of his who had also been placed in the camp.
His wife and his mother went to the camp and paid 10 ounces of Chinese gold to get him out. And when he was released, he asked his mother and his wife to pay for my release too, and they did. If I did not meet with my former student, I think I would be dead now, because I was so weakened that at this time I couldn't stand up by myself.
7 months after his release, Paul organized and led the escape by sea of over 50 men, women, and children. The 1,000-mile voyage to the Philippines lasted 10 days.
People just wanted that freedom, and they risked their lives every day escaping from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. They get in these very small fishing boats that are ready to sink before they even leave. And they crowd hundreds of people into these boats where there's only room for maybe 25. And so many of them know that they might drown, and they might be taken by pirates, and there's so many perils that they must face in that trip from Vietnam to a country of asylum. Paul was just like everyone else. He got in one of those little boats, and he could have been killed just like anyone else. When they were in trouble, whenever they ran into some peril or some obstacle, Paul was the person on the boat that ministered to them, no matter who they were. So he spent his time, instead of worrying about his life, worrying about the other people's lives on the boat. I think that we should take just a couple of minutes in silence to reflect on those people that are still in camps and those people that are still being oppressed in the world.
In March of 1979, Paul came to the United States. For 9 years, he worked with refugee communities throughout the country before coming to Atlantic City, where he accepted a position with the Office of Migration and Refugee Services of the Camden Diocese.
We hired him for 21 hours a week, but he manages to work 80 hours a week. We hired him to serve the refugee community, and he serves everyone, no matter who it is. And he does it joyfully. He does it, he feels like this is what he's supposed to do.
At the diocesan office at Holy Spirit Church in Atlantic City, Paul met and worked with Father Patrick Lavin. After much consideration, Paul accepted Father Lavin's invitation to enter the priesthood.
For Paul, as a man, as a Vietnamese, there is a whole field open for him in the church. Our Office of Immigration and Migration have resettled something like about 2,500 to 2,700 families in South Jersey. We don't have a Vietnamese priest that understands the culture, that speaks the language, that could bring the community together in prayer in their own language, and also at the same time be a cheerleader for them to become the best person that they can. I think the main thing about Paul that he's taught me is perseverance. And also, I believe he's very, very much a man of faith.
All I have learned up to now is the people can survive a lot of suffering. They can survive by helping each other. Now, I want to go to seminary to continue to serve people in this diocese of Camden.
With stories like that, we always wish we had more time to spend with you every single Sunday evening, but unfortunately we don't. Our time is limited, so until we see you next week, please take care.
Please pray for all those who hurt so badly as what you've seen tonight. Until we see you again, God bless you.
And please remember the Campaign for Human Development next Sunday. The Lord will bless you for it. I'm Pat Shelton. We'll see you next week on Real to Real.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen, Newtown Square, PA, 215-359-5980.
This week, there will be 2 charismatic events held at Williamson's Restaurant, City Line and Belmont Avenues.
On Tuesday, November 14th, the women will gather for their luncheon at 12 noon.
And on Saturday, November 18th, the men will hold their prayer breakfast at 9 a.m.
Both events are filled with praise and thanksgiving and song and witness. So come on out for the women's prayer luncheon on Tuesday, November 14th.
And come on out for the men's prayer breakfast on Saturday, November 18th.
For both events, just call 215-668-HOPE.